I'm Jennifer Gonzalez from the Cult of Pedagogy podcast, a proud member of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to right now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual hosts. Make sure you check out all the other great podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com. And get ready, because the learning begins in 3, 2, 1...
Coming up on episode number 123 of the House of EdTech podcast, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. I'm going to give you 10 easy ways to use tech in your classroom. The EdTech thought, we're going to talk about guts and heart. My recommendation, I ask, are you tired of your school blocking shortened URLs? Strike up the band. Welcome to the House of EdTech podcast. I am your host, Chris Nesi. The House of EdTech explores how technology is changing the way teachers teach and the impact that technology is having in education. I discuss technology that is changing our classrooms and schools, and I share tools and tips that you can hear today and use tomorrow. You're going to hear the stories of teachers, leaders, and creators just like you. The purpose? Whether you use it or not, technology is changing the way you teach and how your students learn. Ho, ho, ho. It is December 2018, and welcome to the House of EdTech podcast. I am so glad that you are adding this podcast and this particular episode to your anytime, anywhere professional development. My name is Chris Nesi, and I am so excited to have you here for this episode. If this is the first time you're tuning in, welcome aboard. You've only got 122 episodes to catch up on. Just don't go back to episode 1. So what's coming up in this episode? I am very excited because I put together a nice list of easy ways to integrate technology into your classroom. And I actually really haven't done an episode quite like this. I've done some list episodes before, but I put together something that I think is pretty simple and is definitely something you can hear today and use tomorrow. But a couple of things here at the top of the episode before I get into that. First and foremost, I do currently have a contest going on. My last episode, episode 122, I talked to the awesome Dr. Sam Fessich, the author of EduMagic, and we are currently looking to give away a couple of copies of the EduMagic book. All you need to do to get involved and try to win in this contest, just go out and follow at House of EdTech on Twitter and tweet at the show something valuable from my conversation with Sam from episode 122. And just make sure you put out the applicable tweet and you get that follow before December 31st, 2018. Also, we are getting very close here to the end of the calendar year 2018, and I am in the process of putting together the 2018 House of EdTech Smackdown. This will be the 5th annual, and I need your entries to make this happen. So what are your favorite EdTech tools, tips, recommendations? I do it all year for you guys, and occasionally somebody will send something in, but this episode here at the end of the year is all about you. So what are you loving in the world of education technology right now? And I want you to share that with the entire House of EdTech community. So get that to me by Friday, December 14th, and you can do that by sending me an email, tweet me, Vox me. If you're not a member of the House of EdTech Facebook group, go to chrisnesi.com/Facebook and you can send a message there. Obviously, since this is an audio podcast, I would really prefer to have you speaking about it. But if you want me to read your own words, I'm happy to do that too. And the House of EdTech Smackdown for this year will be episode 124, which is the next episode, and that's going to come right to you on December 16th. So if you're not subscribed, you want to go to chrisnesi.com/subscribe and make sure you get that done. Also, one little nugget here. On December 7th, I will be a guest on the Partial Credit Podcast, episode 14, where I talk with Jeff, Jesse, and Donnie all about podcasting and education. And you're going to want to go over to partial.credit. Make sure you click subscribe, add it to your podcast. It's a fantastic show. They do the content, I do the production. It's a whole a lot of fun, and I'll be their guest in episode 14, so make sure you don't miss that. Let's get into all of the awesome content, and let's start with my EdTech thought. Today I want to talk to you about using your guts and using your heart to make decisions and lead and do things in education. Recently, I engaged with some individuals on Twitter about the reality of teaching collaboration to students and how this can or can't be done. Here's the basic gist, and bear with me, I actually do get to a point as I have written it in my notes. This conversation began with a tweet from @DisruptedTV. The original tweet was, "Are you teaching your students collaboration skills? Your answer matters." And there was an image attached. Okay. Now, a number of people responded to this tweet, and the responses of one individual caught my attention. And I didn't agree with this person, like a few other people. So I made the following points after I saw a few tweets early in the morning when I saw this kind of taking place. Number one, collaborate is one of the verbs of my high school classroom. I directly teach my students about effective collaboration by talking with my students directly and openly about what the heck effective collaboration is, and then I provide countless opportunities to do it as well as see me do it, and I talk about it. That's a conscious thing that I do. Number two, this isn't something we should be looking for hardcore academic research to justify the value of. There is plenty in education that can simply be good for kids, and we don't need a study to prove it. Going with your gut and your heart is enough sometimes. The person who was kind of, I don't want to say being negative, but they certainly weren't being positive. So I guess that means they were negative. This person appeared to be surprised and in disbelief at the thought of teaching or leading with heart or one's gut, or in one word, intuition. To be fair, can this lead to incorrect decisions? Yes, duh, of course it can. But since there's no manual or research to support the idea of teaching things like collaboration, that doesn't mean we shouldn't or can't find ways to teach this and other skills like it to our students. In my classroom, the verbs are, and thank you Dr. Robert Dilling for helping me a few episodes ago use the idea, and now I've added it to the way I speak, what the verbs of my classroom are. And those verbs are create, collaborate, communicate, and critically think. I had to find a way to work in that fourth C, and so I went with critically thinking. You all follow me. I explicitly let my students know this, and I make a point of being intentional about the value of these verbs and the value that these verbs will play in their lives. I've never read a single article, book, or any study that has inspired or justified me making these four ideas the focus of my classroom. This came from my heart. My heart, my gut, this is just what I innately, intuitively believe that should be in my classroom. Should it be in other classrooms? I'm not one to say, yes, it must, but it should certainly be considered. The results are seen in earnest now, but years from now, my students will have an opportunity to do so many things. Not because we talked about history, but because my gut continues to tell me that these things are good for kids as they journey into adulthood, stopping in my classroom for a brief period of time. So I ask you, what's in your heart? What does your gut tell you is right for kids that isn't supported by outdated or even the latest research? So please go to chrisnessy.com/123 and let me know what you think. What's in your gut? What's in your heart about education? And that's my EdTech thought. And now it's time for this episode's House of EdTech recommendation. And this recommendation, I was inspired because it was recently brought to my attention that on purpose, schools are blocking URL shorteners, whether it's bit.ly, goo.gol, and there's any number of services, free and paid, that shorten URLs so you get something a little nicer than this very long number of letters and numbers that don't make any sense. A tool that I found that I'm able to use because, I'll be honest, my district blocks a number of URL shorteners, yet there are things that are not being shared around maliciously that I, from time to time, would like to access. So, what I want to recommend to you here is something called Link Expander. Link Expander is an awesome tool to unshorten any URL. The short URL could lead to an unsafe website. These websites may harm your computer, or they could even attempt to steal personal information. Therefore, Link Expander will check and analyze the website to make sure it is safe for you to browse. The tool has been tried with more than 100 URL shortening services and works with all of them. I certainly recommend you try it now. It works very quickly, and it doesn't just expand it and then take you to the link. It then shows you what the actual long URL is, and then you know if that's a website that you want to go to. Definitely go and check out linkexpander.com. And that's my House of Ed Tech recommendation. All right, it's time for the featured content here in episode 123. And as I sat down to record this episode, I realized the sheer coincidence that what I've put together here in terms of 10 easy ways to use technology in your classroom, and it happens to be episode 123. Let's just go with everything I'm about to share is as easy as 123. So many teaching methods and resources that use technology effectively engage students and build their skills, but many of us hit roadblocks when actually using technology in our classrooms. You've encountered that platform that is too hard to introduce. I know I have. Or maybe it doesn't run on your device or your students' devices. Despite the many challenges we face, you want to enjoy the benefits that education technology can deliver. It's kind of why you're listening to this podcast right now. So using technology that best applies to you and your students, let's consider 10 easy ways to use technology in the classroom. Number 1, travel virtually with your students. If a location is out of reach due to logistical issues, you can simulate a virtual trip by buying a Google Cardboard for less than $15. There are apps you can use to explore famous buildings, such as the Empire State Building, and a number of natural phenomena, such as the Great Barrier Reef. Now, you might ask, how will this connect with a learning objective? You could visit a foreign landmark. You can hold a mock conversation in that country's language, or you could study the area itself from a geographic perspective. This can add new, engaging elements to your lessons. Similarly, you could also use something like Google Earth, and you can explore locations before actually, or if you could never visit them, here's a way to get there. Let's say your class is set to go to the zoo. Find the location, travel to it using Street View, and see which exhibits pique the most student interest. You can quickly discuss what they're looking forward to, boosting excitement levels for a trip, and popular field trip destinations will also have websites filled with visual media that you can use to complement the preview, or even go back and revisit after the fact. All it takes is a device connected to a projector and a large screen. Super easy. You might even say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Number 2, use videos for mini lessons. You can bolster your lesson plans by using videos as standalone overviews for some topics. Also available as skills, reviews, and previews. There are many websites that host teacher-made video content. There's TeacherTube, which is an example of education-only content that operates sort of like YouTube. It covers core school subjects, and you can search for a specific topic, browse by category, and you can quickly find relevant videos. For example, if you search middle school algebra, it will load results containing study guides, specific lessons, and exam reviews. This easy way to use technology in the classroom adds a multimedia element to your lessons, which can effectively resonate with the visual learners in your room. Research has shown that the use of animated videos can positively impact a child's development in several competence areas, including memory, creativity, critical thinking, and, of course, problem solving, which is kind of what math is all about. But you understand what I'm saying. Number 3. This is a favorite of mine, as you will quickly hear. Play podcasts. Playing relevant podcasts can not only supplement your lessons, but engage auditory learners and act as a learning station. Made by groups ranging from media giants to ordinary people, like me, people are passionate about all sorts of subjects, and I'm sure you can find content and podcasts that are interviews with the author of a book your students are reading, lessons about studying techniques and strategies, explorations of a curriculum-related topic, lectures from world-renowned professors. The content is out there. For a high school course, you may want to design a project that allows students to create and play their own podcasts. If you're interested in that, go to chrisnessy.com/schoolpodcasts, and you can find all my resources for creating podcast content. And this is one of the easiest ways to use technology in your classroom. You just need a device, and you need speakers. Number 4. Slideshow presentations entirely made up of text can disengage students. Let's be honest, presentations made up entirely of text will disengage anybody. A presentation with multimedia elements can effectively hold the attention by varying the content delivery. When applicable, include images, graphs, GIFs, and yes, I say GIFs. Put in pictographs, put in audio clips, put in video clips, sound effects. Use short videos in these presentations. You can put in news, movie, and television show clips. Make the kids and students, or if you're presenting in professional development, make people not know what's coming. Keep them guessing. Keep them interested. You don't have to scour the internet to find relevant graphs and pictures. You can make them yourself. Find free online tools or use the tools on your Windows computer or your Chromebook or your Mac laptop or desktop, whatever the case may be. And create labels, modify designs, really customize it. If you're engaged in the design process, your students and your audience will be more engaged in the presentation. It's likely that slideshow presentations already play a part in your lessons, and adding different kinds of media will make them that much more engaging. Number 5, share an online class calendar. You want to keep your students informed? Give them a calendar. Keep them informed regarding the content they'll be tackling. Create and share a class calendar that details lessons and highlights important dates. You can use a program such as Google Calendar. You can email your calendar's hyperlink to your students, or if you're using Google Classroom, it will create a calendar for them if you are a Google Apps for Education district. This not only keeps them informed, but it helps you stay organized. You will quickly see if you've set too many due dates in a short period. And by keeping students in the loop, you'll help them come prepared for each class. If you know anything about me, I'm all about eliminating excuses, and a calendar certainly will help you eliminate excuses for your students. Number 6, use virtual manipulatives. When teaching and reinforcing math concepts, students can use virtual manipulatives in more ways than physical ones. For example, a 6th grade geometry activity from the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives involves using geoboards to illustrate area, perimeter, and rational concepts. Although there are a few websites that provide these manipulatives, many teachers regard the NLVM as the most versatile and most engaging. The website is made up of tasks targeted to students from pre-K to 12th grade, so there should be something for your class. This method of using technology in the classroom is not only easy to run, but it also appeals to hands-on learners. Number 7. Save time for your exit tickets. Save 10 minutes at the end of class for exit tickets, and you will open the door for easy technology use. Because exit tickets could take the form of online journal entries, where maybe you have them using an online notepad where they can write journal entries to summarize what they've learned. Maybe they're doing slideshow comments, and your students can make comments throughout the PowerPoint or Google Slides to review and expand on the important points you made throughout instruction. Or consider simply using, say, Twitter. In 280 characters or less, students can very easily summarize the most important point they learned in class, and you can easily see what they wrote by asking them to use a class hashtag. And exit tickets are not only quick from a student perspective, but you should also find them easy to introduce and oversee. Number 8. Use Twitter hashtags to take questions. Just as you could use a class-exclusive hashtag for exit tickets, mentioned just a few seconds ago, you can use it to take questions throughout the day. By inputting the hashtag in Twitter's search bar, you can display the feed on a screen during class or check it periodically on your own device. You can choose to answer all the questions at once or as they pop up. Either way, you don't want to see an empty feed. Encourage your students to ask inquiry questions, as well as specific ones related to lessons, presentations, homework, and more. This use of technology can be especially beneficial for introverts who may not be comfortable asking questions in front of the class. Number 9. Gather student feedback. To encourage student input about content processing activities, create and distribute surveys. In a few minutes, you can create forms and polls using such popular tools as Socrative, Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, or Poll Everywhere. Students can give responses through personal or classroom devices, giving you insight about the activities that they prefer. So if you want to have a student-centered classroom, you need to start asking them questions to help give them the input to make it student-centered. It makes sense. You might even say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Now, based on the results, you may find it an easy way to improve lessons. This could even involve using new technologies in the classroom, but you need to ask your students what they want. And our last tip, number 10, offer open-ended projects. When it comes time to start a new project, give students a list of options to choose from. Maybe a choice board. Thank you, AJ Bianco, at AJ Bianco on Twitter, who uses choice boards and doesn't stop talking about them. So thanks, buddy. Using something like this, you can appeal to your students' distinct learning styles, and they can effectively demonstrate their knowledge. The project could involve designing web content, putting together ebooks, creating original artwork, composing music, crafting multimedia products. Students can use widely accessible software to complete any of these projects, which you may want to provide on classroom devices. This way, you can dedicate in-class time to project work while giving students some autonomy over how to use technology in school. So those are the 10 what I think are easy ways to consider integrating technology maybe in a new way in your classroom tomorrow. So my final thoughts about teaching and integrating tech in these ways. Education technology gives you more ways to teach and engage students, but you must determine the best ways to use them. Depending on the makeup of your class, students may find some ideas and technologies disengaging, yet won't want to stop using others. So it all depends. You need to ask and communicate with your students. Now, the list that we just went over, This should help you find methods or techniques that are right for you and your students. If you have more easy ways to integrate technology, I'm going to ask you to share them with me. Go to chrisnessy.com/123 and share them in the comments, or go to chrisnessy.com/feedback. Maybe we can put together some sort of episode in the new year in 2019 where we share some of your easy ways to integrate technology into the classroom. And now it's time for this episode's House of EdTech VIP. Congratulations to Ronald Nober. Ron is a teacher in the Idea and Design Center. He's an Edpuzzle coach. He's a Google Educator Level 1, and he's a Flipgrid ambassador. He's also very interested in design thinking and believes, quote, there is no they. Make sure you connect with Ron on Twitter. He is at Nober_TechClass, and that's NOBER_TECHCLASS. I will include a link to his Google site in the show notes for this episode out at chrisnessy.com/123. And congratulations, Ron. You are a House of EdTech VIP. Thanks for checking out episode 123 of the House of EdTech podcast. Keep the conversation going. I would love to connect with you and hear your thoughts on the information and resources that I shared in this episode and any episode. If you want everything that I talked about here, go to chrisnessy.com/123. If you want to send me a message, go to chrisnessy.com/feedback. Now, if you enjoy this podcast, and if you're listening now, you do. And I thank you for liking it. But do me a favor. Number one, tell somebody else about the podcast. Share it on social media. Use the hashtag House of EdTech. Or submit your entry to the contest. Follow at House of EdTech on Twitter. Let me know something you liked from episode 122. And then say hello. Follow me at Mr. Nessie. I'm socially connected. Let's make sure we're friends everywhere that we can be. Number two, you could also become an awesome supporter of the podcast. My Awesome Supporter initiative is powered by Patreon.com. And special thanks to my awesome supporters, who include Anthony Arnaud from the New Teacher podcast at newteacher.org, Eric Kurtz from ControlAltAchieve.com, Dan Gallagher from GallagherTech.edublogs.org, Peggy George from Classroom 2.0 Live, Jen Giffen from Shooks and GIF the podcast, which you can find at bit.ly/ShooksandGIF. And make sure, if you need to, use the URL expander. Also, thank you to Mark Grindell, Jeff Herb from InstructionalTechTalk.com, Mike Messner, JP Prezavento from the Bits and Bytes of Education podcast over at jpprez.com. Scott Titmus, thank you very much for being an awesome supporter, as well as Brent Warner from the edtech.tv podcast. Thank you, everybody, for all your support. And if you are interested in supporting the podcast, go to chrisnessy.com/awesome. The next episode of the podcast will be episode number 124. Again, this is going to be the 2018 House of EdTech Smackdown. You want to get your contribution to me by Friday, December 14th, 2018, and I'm looking forward to sharing everything that you are loving in EdTech right now. That episode is going to come at you on December 16th, 2018. And hey, after that, I'm going to go on a couple of weeks break, and I'll be back in January. So I'll say it now, happy holidays, and until next time, thank you for learning with me, and remember, using technology isn't difficult. Just give it a try. Hey, I'm still here. Just want to give a quick shout out to everybody who watched me record this episode live in the House of EdTech Facebook group. Thank you to Joe Juba, Sam Fessich, Dan Gallagher, and Nate Nagel. Thanks for stopping by. And if you're not a part of the House of EdTech Facebook group, make sure you go to chrisnessy.com/Facebook and I'll see you over there.